My name is Sabora. I'm a recovering heroin addict. We're here at an awareness rally today at the corner of Baxter and Clarkson in Chesterfield, Missouri. And part of our ongoing effort to bring continuing awareness to the heroin problem in St. Louis, there's 3 issues that we're going to discuss today and give you a little information on. It's current legislation that it needs to be passed in the state of Missouri. We're going to talk about all 3, and then 2 of them are going to lead into a very brave story from a good friend of mine that could have benefited greatly from 2 of these laws. The first thing we're going to talk about today is prescription monitoring. Missouri is the only state in the United States that does not have this law. What prescription monitoring does is that it creates a database where prescriptions per a physician's DEA number are tracked to keep track of who's writing pain pills for this, who's writing prescriptions for that. We currently don't have that. That is why we have a lot of doctor shopping in Missouri, which is people going to various doctors, getting numerous prescriptions for pain pills, and filling them at different pharmacies. That's also why we have all these chiropractic offices opening up in Missouri off the various highways. What happens at those places is you go in, you get an MRI, the chiropractor looks at the MRI, you basically give him $500 in cash, and he writes you a prescription for whatever you want. For heroin addiction, this is the starting point for a lot of people, because what happens is we get hooked on the pain pills in the beginning. And slowly over time, because this is a disease, it's progressive, we take more and more and more pain pills. What happens, we get to a point where A, we can't afford the pain pills anymore, or B, they're just not doing it, and our will is pretty much gone at this point. Our rational decision making has been taken by the drugs, and we switch to heroin. That is a huge problem in Missouri because we have so many pain pills flooding the streets that there's no control over them. They're getting into the high schools, and people are selling these for $5, $10 a pill. If you're talking about something as strong as Oxycontin, those go for $1 a milligram. Now, Oxycontin goes up to 160 milligrams. So just think about the amount of money people can make from selling these pills. We had a bill on the state Senate floor last session for prescription monitoring. It was filibustered by a state senator out of St. Joseph named Senator Rob Schaaf. During this senator's filibuster argument where he crashed this bill, he made the following statement. If a drug addict gets hooked on pain pills or a drug addict in general dies, it cleans up the gene pool. So per this man's argument, he is almost advocating the death of our children, our parents, our loved ones that suffer from a disease. What makes this even worse is this man is a doctor by profession. He is a physician that is trained in the disease modality of addiction. It is primary, progressive, incurable, and fatal. That's any disease fits those categories, which addiction does, which was decided by the American Medical Association a very long time ago. Now, also, this senator sits on various committees for if you're in Missouri, your state Senate. And I want to talk about 2 committees that he sits on because this is disturbing. He sits on the Committee for Public Health and Mental Health. He also sits on the Committee for Suicide Prevention. This man, who doesn't care if your children die, is the one that is in charge of making sure that people don't kill themselves. And all drug addiction or heroin addiction is a very slow suicide. There is something very wrong here, and you need to contact this man. So listed right here is his name, his address, and his phone number. So I urge you to give him a call and let your friends know who is representing you in your state Senate. Second thing we're going to discuss is Narcan. Missouri does not have a Narcan distribution. What Narcan is an opioid withdrawal antidote, basically. If you're in an overdose from heroin or any type of pain pills, what Narcan does is it knocks those drugs out of your brain and it pulls you out of an overdose. This is what EMTs use, and this is what they administer at ERs for an overdose. The most common place you get Narcan is at a needle exchange program. We do not have any of those in the state of Missouri. We do have one in Belleville, Illinois, which is not too far away. It's called Bethany's Place. Now, if you have an addict in your family or you're an addict yourself and you want to protect him or yourself, her, whatever, and you want to carry this drug just in case something happens, you can go to Bethany's place. You sit through about an hour-long video presentation, and you can get Narcan to take home. This drug saves lives. It cannot be abused, and through all the medical statistics and all the studies, it has about the same effect on your body as taking Advil. This is something that we are going to present to Missouri legislator to get passed in Missouri, to make this more available for doctors to write prescriptions and for it to be available at needle exchange programs or various different clinics that we are trying to get set up here in Missouri. So that is something else I would urge you to call your representatives and let your people know that this drug exists and it is available. The third thing I want to discuss, again, is the 9/11 Good Samaritan Law. Now, this was recently passed in California and Illinois. 10 states now have this law. What this law does is that if you call for help, if somebody overdoses, you are granted a limited immunity from possession charges. When people are partying together and they're hanging out and somebody, what we call, falls out or overdoses, people are scared to call the police. They let people sit there and basically die. They do what they can to revive them, but they don't want to call an ambulance because they're scared the cops are going to come and they're going to jail. Now, we suffer from the disease, and one of the biggest things about this disease is it's fear-based. And the fear of going through heroin withdrawals is so crippling, so horrendous, that we do unconscionable things in our addiction. And one of those things that we do with people we're hanging out with is we will not call for help. We're scared. There is no excuse. There is no reason to do it. It's just plain fear. But if we had this law, it would give people the opportunity to not be so scared. Now, another challenge I am giving you is to call your state representative, call your legislator, and let them know that you want this law passed in the state of Missouri. We are working very hard on this as we speak. Now, there's somebody I'm going to introduce. She's a recovering heroin addict like myself, and if we had Narcan available, and if we had the 9/11 Good Samaritan Act, her story wouldn't be like this. Her story wouldn't have ended the way it did, and she wouldn't be where she is. So, to bring a personal note to how important these things are, I'm going to have Jessica talk to everybody for a little bit.
Hi, I'm Jessica, and I'm an addict. I hung out with some old friends that I met through treatment, and I overdosed. I kind of knew when I did that big of a shot that I might overdose, but I wasn't that scared. But what really affected me was what happened afterwards. I was passed out for 12 hours in these people's house, or these people's apartment, and nobody did anything. I was in exactly the same position that I was in when I woke up as I was when I passed out. I suffered from a condition called rhabdomyolysis, which apparently is very, very common in people with heroin overdoses. I know several people who've gone through this condition now that I've gone through it. I've met several people who've had it. And it basically was a muscle breakdown in my left leg that caused toxins to flood my kidneys. So even though the initial overdose didn't kill me, what happened after was killing me. I couldn't walk, I could barely straighten my leg. I was laying there on the floor. I told them, I need to call 911, something is wrong. My ears were ringing. I felt like I was gonna pass out again. I was scared to death, and I was like, you need to call 911. I need to get to the hospital. And they were like, no, you can't call 911 here, we'll get in trouble. They made me crawl. My left leg was completely immobile, and they made me crawl into the elevator and into the lobby of the apartment complex and call a friend to come pick me up because they were so scared of getting in trouble. They didn't have Narcan there, so they couldn't have stopped the overdose. If it would have killed me, they would have probably just dumped my body somewhere. And because the Good Samaritan Law, or the 911 Good Samaritan Law isn't in place, they would have gotten in trouble, and they were so scared to death that they were going to get in trouble that they were pretty much staying out of it. They didn't even help me get to the elevator or get down to the lobby. They didn't want anything with them to be associated with me at that point in time. My friend came and picked me up and brought me to the hospital. We called Chad to come to the hospital, and you know, in case I needed any additional help. It was just a truly terrifying experience.